Yes. The Philadelphia Eagles made some moves. Howie Roseman not wasting any time to make sure that some of these guys don't hit the market. The Eagles had a big signing, and there are a ton of rumors going around with a few of the positions with the Philadelphia Eagles. We're talking Slay, we're talking Myles Garrett, but the number one signing in Philadelphia we all wanted, that was number one priority, Zach Baun. And we're about to talk about it here, so let's get straight into it all. Yo, what is going on, guys? I hope everyone's having a fantastic day today. I hope everyone is enjoying their work week. The Philadelphia Eagles are making moves. The Philadelphia Eagles are not wasting any time. This video is sponsored by BetUS, so definitely go check them out. But we got the first bit of news from the other day. Zach Baun gets his deal. Now, we heard from Jeremy Fowler from NFL that this signing with Zach Baun, this extension, was top priority for the Philadelphia Eagles. What have we been saying this entire offseason, especially after Nakobe Dean going down? That Zach Baun, especially the gem that he has become under Vic Fangio, I don't care if he only plays good under Fangio. I don't care if it's a system thing. The guy plays well with what we're doing, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. This was top priority. It's what I've been saying ever since the Super Bowl was done and the Eagles got it done. 3 years, $51 million, $34 million guaranteed, $1.5 million in incentives. Howie Roseman, his philosophy is changing. We're now actually signing linebackers to big money. Realistically. And that's a really good sign going forward. You extended Saquon Barkley to over $40 million and an extension for a $20 million back. Now a linebacker being paid top 5. I mean, it's just, am I dreaming? Am I living in another world where the Eagles are actually paying positions that they haven't normally done this in years? And this is well-deserved and worth every penny for Zach Baun. So proud of him, and thank God for Fangio actually knows how to produce linebackers. And this, I didn't know when this was going to happen. I was really like, the day of free agency, they were going to get it done or something like that. And that's where I didn't want this to last so long. You created cap with Saquon. You created cap with the release of Slay. You created cap with the post-June release of Bradbury. You know what I mean? So you're creating some cap space, but we're wondering, where is this money going to? What's going on? And the Eagles made this the big re-sign, man. Your championship defense is set. Now I can sit back, let Howie work his magic around the rest of this roster. Realistically, besides Jalen Carter, this is one of the most important players, probably the second to third most important player on this roster, on this roster. Game changer, championship defense. It's set. It's ready to go. And let Howie Roseman work his magic on the rest of these moves for this defense, and we'll be in the same spot we were last year. Thank God. So happy for Zach Baun, his family, and for us Eagle fans that have been starving for a linebacker coming in, Now, to some other news for, not relatively for the Eagles, but I guess in connection to it. Now, it looks like Max Crosby did get a big deal from the Raiders, signing a 3-year deal, $106.5 million extension, includes $91.5 guaranteed, making him the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL history. We thought maybe Sweat, there was a chance that maybe he would get into a better situation and get all this money, maybe take a little bit less to be in a better situation with the Eagles, but after this contract, that's definitely not going to happen. We know Milt's gone. We get the compensatory pick for him. Sweat is definitely gone. So I think, the Eagles are definitely going to have to, we'll talk about edge rusher in a minute here and more later in this video. But Crosby is obviously off the board for the Eagles. This is a contract they're definitely not going to do if that was going to be the case, if it was going to be a trade. So Crosby is there probably for the rest of his career with the Las Vegas Raiders, and that's that. Now, connected to defensive ends, Ian Rappaport was on NFL Network talking about Eagles creating cap space for a Myles Garrett trade. Is it possible? Now, Rapport said that they would have to, the Eagles would have to give away some, they would have to get rid of some contracts. One, I think the Bryce Huff contract would be a total factor that goes into a trade like this. Okay, as I've been saying for the last week and a half, realistically, the more I've been seeing more about this Myles Garrett trade, the worse it's getting at this point. Okay, Rap Sheet said, I'd be very surprised if Howie was able to acquire Myles Garrett. Okay, we're hearing right now, even from what Ian Rappaport said, is that Myles Garrett wants to trade. The Browns are still not wanting to trade him. And Garrett is slated to get the highest non-quarterback contract in the league because of this extension. I am backing away from this. I am not touching this. I would rather, at this point, realistically, I'd rather go sign Hassan Reddick if you gave me a choice. Not that I want to do that move. I would rather do that because it's a free agent. You don't have to give away picks and players and all of that. But you got to make sure that the Washington Commanders don't get him and when the Eagles try to swoop in. Even though he says he'll be surprised, it doesn't. I don't think he has any inside information right now. I think he's just looking at the roster as a whole. The money for the Eagles right now is not necessarily that high to acquire Myles Garrett, but you don't know what you're going to have to give up for that guy. He's got 30 years old, 2-3 years left, maybe that. I mean, is it really worth it? That is a luxury trade at this point for the Philadelphia Eagles. And if he lands in the NFC East, so be it. I guess we're going to beat him too. And he's going to waste his time being on another organization. This, I'm trying not to go too far with it, but this is out of the price range for the Eagles at this point. If Rappaport says he's trying to get if he's trying to get the highest paid non-quarterback contract, I'm already out the door. Both feet are out the door. See you later. And that's pretty much it. I'll never be talking about this trade again at this point. I want to see where he signs, but like I said, you never know, how he is still trying. There's still contracts, money being moved around. It's still early. It's still got another week and a half until free agency. So it's still early. This is a trade, obviously. So this could take a lot more time. We don't really know. But I'm kind of backing away from that at that point. Okay, because realistically, I think the Eagles, if they don't, we'll talk about Brandon Graham in this video. They'll have to replace 2 edge rushers, most likely, going into the offseason, whether it's draft, maybe get a free agent. We'll see what happens. But the Myles Garrett thing is it's not really liking to me too much going forward. If you guys haven't picked up the Philly Shakedown podcast merch, definitely go check it out. Pick up some merch. We got the Champions polyester high-sprung t-shirt. Fabric, awesome. Looks fantastic. People have been ordering like crazy. These take an hour to make. Go check those out. Link in the description below. And check out the Main Thing t-shirt in multiple colors as well. Everything comes in t-shirts, hoodies, you name it. We got it. The moment in the hallway, the Super Bowl. Love that moment. Link in the description and the pinned comment in the comment section as well. Appreciate everybody ordering. Now, we have news on Brandon Graham, because I want to talk about defensive ends very heavy in this video. Okay, Graham, apparently this is news from Derek Gunn that he did tear his tricep a second time. Okay, he tore it in the Super Bowl. He tore it. Nolan Smith tore his tricep. And now Brandon Graham tore his tricep for a second time after missing, 10 weeks, 11 weeks? So realistically, it's can his body even hold up at this point? I mean, the Eagles have got to worry about this, because if he has a really weak muscle in the back of his arm and that tricep now, and it just can't hold up, and he's just getting to that point where his body is just deteriorating, I mean, you can't re-sign him on top of that. You can't re-sign him. So if the Eagles don't re-sign Brandon Graham, and I still think they need 2 edge rushers, I still think they should go out there and get Khalil Mack. I think so. I didn't want Khalil Mack and Brandon Graham. Obviously, Khalil Mack will be a deep, will be a deep rotational type guy, 15 snaps, something like that. So if you don't get Brandon Graham, you bring Khalil Mack to the Eagles coming off a 6-sack season and be at that really heavy depth move for them. So that was the news. I was kind of shocked by this, but now it's kind of worrying me a little bit. He did this again, and even if he takes weeks off, it could happen in training camp. It could happen during the season. I mean, I honestly don't know how to take this. I take this as I think Brandon Graham probably has to retire at this point. I mean, we'll see what happens down the road if they bring him back, but that tricep is definitely going to worry me where he's going to miss weeks and then he comes back. He's going to miss weeks. I mean, who knows how many more times it's going to, I mean, this might be the last straw. We'll see. I don't know if he's talked to Howie Roseman yet, but we'll find out when the time comes. And lastly, since Zach Baun has been signed, where do the Eagles turn to their next position? Okay, I think the edge rushing position is something they'll figure out. Vic Fangio will figure that out. I'm not really worried about that as much because you have that 32nd pick. I think the Eagles are lurking in the market right now for a trade. But cornerback 2 is going to be really interesting opposite of Quinyon Mitchell. Slay was on the facility show and talked about coming back. And obviously, if the money is right, he will come back. We don't know what his number is. The projected contract was like a 1 year for like $8 million. I mean, I think that seems too good to be true. I think that's actually not a bad number. I think he'll probably want a little bit more than that. And he wants to come back. He thinks he's got a lot of leadership, a part of this defense. He's a big-time leadership here. We talked about the ins and outs, okay? DeJean moving to the outside and what they're doing here. Before we talk about any of that, we need to see what they do. If you re-sign Darius Slay, big play Slay, you have got to sign a viable backup behind him, whether it's Isaiah Rodgers coming back, okay? I think you have to get the gang back together. Isaiah Rodgers should not be making that much in free agency. He could try to cash in on a Super Bowl, but for the amount of snaps he had this season, it's really not much. He should be relatively cheap. But Slay coming back for one more year, that's going to be the domino effect. That's going to be the factor. It is what the Eagles are going to do, especially in this draft. I think this can affect the draft entirely, especially with Keely Ringo not being promised to us Eagles fans that he's going to be the number 2 guy because another guy that needs to produce, hasn't played much, needs more time. Eli Ricks will probably never smell the field as a number 2 corner. So what do you do here? I think we have to be patient. I think we have to wait around just a little bit longer, close to the free agency, and I think we're going to get our answer very soon because the Eagles are going to have to jump on this. It's, in my opinion, the cornerback position besides Quinyon and DeJean, it's really empty, and you have no depth behind it. You know, if Slade comes back, you have to get a good backup for him because he's going to be in that blue tent 4 or 5 times a game, and I don't really mind it too much. Like every game, he's always limping, and then he comes back in the game, so you got to make sure, like if he's coming back for one more year, like that backup has got to be ready, prepared, and there. Unless they want to draft another first-round corner. I mean, I'd be shocked over another DB in the first round. 3 DBs in 2 years with the first couple picks. I mean, that would kind of surprise me a little bit. So that is really the big news on Slay, and it comes down to money, and that's where we're kind of at right now. So if you were to say, what is the next position we're kind of looking at? I wouldn't say guard. I'm not worried about Stoutland with the guard position. It's one spot on the offensive line. I'm not even worried about that. The Mekhi Becton thing, will figure it out. But I think that cornerback spot is I think we're looking right now. Linebacker next to Zach Baun, I think you're going to sign another linebacker. I think you need somebody else. It's just Trot and Zach Baun at the end of the day as well, because I think you need somebody else. Well, you got to re-sign Oren Burks back or something. I mean, that's probably behind Trotter. If you have Trotter and Baun starting for the season, you have no depth. There's nothing. Ben Van Sermon's coming off a knee injury. And Nakobe Dean is pretty much not going to show up into the playoffs. Realistically, he's probably going to miss the entire year. On a contract year. So things definitely have to change here. Adding to linebacker, figuring out corner is the next objective for the Eagles. And obviously edge rusher is going to be a big one going forward. So let me know what you guys think about the entire situation, the Zach Baun signing. Would you re-sign Slay back? What it means for the Myles Garrett trade when Crosby got all this money now. It's Howie Roseman is going to keep wheeling and dealing. We are not close to done yet, regardless. So we'll see what happens. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We cover the news, Eagles news every single day, and hit the like button because it helps the channel out tremendously. I will see you guys on the next one. Shakes, what up, follow side. Peace out, guys. Peace.